I wanted to talk about this because I haven't talked about it in a long time officially. I don't think anyone else in the transformation space talks about this at all, or if they do, definitely not the way I think about it. I don't think there's another coach. I have not heard anyone whisper it. I have not heard any mention of it, no hide, no hair from anyone else. And it has been a few years since I've talked about it officially like I'm doing here, but it's something that I reference often when I'm having my more personal client interactions with you all. So tonight's main topic is transformational maturity. I believe the concept of transformational maturity is important to discuss and understand because I believe that understanding what we need to focus on is imperative for success, because the ability to focus and the energy required for focus is a limited resource, and so we should spend it wisely. And I believe it's very helpful to understand why we think and feel as we do along our respective journeys of transformation. Why do we think and behave the way we do? Understanding the concept of transformational maturity can do both. It can help us know what we need to focus on and improve to succeed, and it can help us understand why we continue to think, feel, and behave in ways that either support our goals or detract from achieving them. I also believe it can help provide that no matter where you are in your transformational maturity, you can grow, you can mature, and you're not stuck with where you are if it's not ideal right now in serving your goals. So here goes. As is so common, I was sparked to make this subject into a full-blown live class topic a while back after I got a private message from a student that said this. I'm going to read it to you. I know it's kind of small on there. Last week I was traveling and it was something of a disaster. My family was on vacation and we did get food to take for lunch each day to the various places we were going. The hotel breakfast was pretty good, too good. But each night starting Wednesday, we had, quote, special, unquote, family dinners with my extended family. And I've learned that eating clean before the event does not make it easier for me to not eat at the place we are going. I just end up eating twice. When I'm surrounded by baskets of chips, bread, corn muffins, I eventually cave. My sister's wedding was on Saturday, and I am not capable of going to a wedding and not eating the cake at this point. I did avoid the candy bar, no chocolate till Christmas. I should not be the one carrying the snacks on the plane because sitting next to them for 6 hours without eating them is more than I can deal with also. I did well with exercise. The hotel had a great workout room and I was there every day. But it doesn't matter if I work out every day and then go out at night and eat a 1,000-calorie dinner. The math just doesn't work. So I think the best I can do by May 16th is probably 194 if I really work at it. Not happy, but it is what it is. So while I hadn't actually taught a lesson at the time I got this private message called Transformational Maturity, I hadn't actually taught a Transformational Maturity lesson, I had the concept swirling in my head long before I got this PM, and this PM simply reminded me of it again. So what is transformational maturity? I think I'd define it as the combined nutritional, activity, and emotional fitness maturities, all in, supporting weight management. So the private message I just read to you was from a student who had been with me for several weeks or months. Just keep that in mind as I read one more private message from a brand new student. At the time this brand new student wrote the private message, she was 245 pounds. She said, I would at least like to see 199 again. It has been 9 years. I am highly addicted to sweets. I've been diagnosed as type 2 diabetic. I'm taking 1,500 milligrams of metformin twice a day. My blood sugars remain in the 200s. I am working at it by watching my carbs, and it keeps me busy trying to find new low-carb items. First, while these types of newbie PMs are not unusual at all, my heart genuinely goes out to her. The odds are so stacked against her. Regardless of how long you've been with me, as you hear me right now, you are further along in your journey here at LLU than she is. And you know more than she does with respect to our processes, far more than she does. You, in a few or many ways, are more mature than she is. When I think of her transformational maturity, I think of her literally being minutes out of the womb. So do something for me right now, if you would, please. I want you to think, no matter how far back it was when you first started doing my program, about how you felt the first time I asked you to eat 95% real food. If you've been with me a long time, I might have called it way back when Dave Paleo, Operation Safe Mode. I had lots of names for it. Now it's just NFL number one. One of our 15 nutrition fundamentals. Which NFL number one says you should eat real food at least 95% of the time when you're in action and 90% of the time when you're in maintenance. At least. Whether you're a week old with LOU or you're 21 years old with LOU, think back to that very first introduction of me dropping the eat real food bomb on you. Not 20% of the time, real food, not 60% of the time, not even 80% of the time, but 95% of the time or more. How did you feel when you were first introduced to this concept? Just comment. Definitely think to yourself, but comment if you can. Holy cow, right? And you think back? So here's an actual common student reaction when they first hear they are being asked to eat real food 95% of the time. True story, true story. So moving on. Now, if you've been diligently engaged in the program for many weeks, months, or years, but at least many weeks, how do you feel presently? How do you feel presently, now, in the present? If you've been with me for weeks, months, or years, how do you feel presently when I say you should eat real food 95% or more of the time while in action, 90% or more while in maintenance? Comment that feeling. When I've asked this question in the past, students who reflected on what they felt when they first heard me drop the eat real food 95% of the time bomb, when I dropped that on them, their reaction was pretty much just that. It felt like a bomb had been dropped on them. They were grieving, panicky. Oh my God, everything I love is being taken away. There will be nothing to eat. How will I do this? I can't eat anything. I'll never make it. It's impossible. They wanted to run for the door, escape, hide under the covers, and suck their thumbs. Makes sense, right? But for the many who engaged their team, hung in there with us, and gave it a good effort, by the time they were 8 to 16 weeks in, NFL number one, which says eat real food 95% of the time while in action, at least, 90% or more of the time while in maintenance, at least, that no longer feels like a bomb's being dropped on you. It's more like this now. Yeah, got it. Got it. So depending on where you are in your transformational journey, it's a yawn, shrug your shoulders, no big deal event. Your anxiety doesn't go up at all. Your blood sugar, your blood pressure doesn't rise in the slightest. And if you're super advanced, you realize this concept and practice of eating real food 95% of the time, that what seemed like insanity for anyone to be asked to do this in our modern times, it's so basic. You say to yourself, what is Dave asking me to do? He's asking me to eat real food, instead of food-like substances. That's it. I often say I'm no better than you. I just have a 25-year head start. That number keeps advancing, thankfully. It used to be 15, then 18, then 20, and now it's 25. And it's true, I'm no better than you. I just have a 25-year head start. Now, the NFL 15 is no big deal for me. NFL number one, to eat real food 90% or more of the time. Eating real food 90% or more of the time in maintenance is easy. I'm in action right now for a short little, 5 pound slough off. So I'm 95%, but I'm almost 95% most of the time anyway. It's no big deal now. But I remember more than 25 years ago, long before I was nutritionally mature, I read an article in a magazine of a very transformationally mature, very nutritionally mature young woman who just flat out did not eat crap food. She did not eat frankenfood. She did not eat ultra-processed garbage. This was more than 25 years ago now. And I'm not just talking about if she was getting ready for a show or a physique competition or whatever. She just didn't eat it, period. In season, off season, it didn't matter. And I remember reading that when I wasn't doing that. And she wasn't a freak, although it kind of seemed like she was then. She really felt fantastic when she ate the way she ate. She liked what she ate. She felt fantastic. It was all real food. Well, that's me now. And I've been this way for many years. But more than 25 years ago, when I read that article, about her doing that, eating that way. I still remember what I thought to myself when I read that she was eating that way.
How about new, you crazy Dutch bastard?
True story. That is almost exactly what I thought. I thought, who the frick, wants to live like that? And why live like that at all if you're only going to eat like that? But you know what? Even then, a piece of me admired her for having the fortitude and mental toughness and desire to do that, to live that way. But I wasn't nutritionally mature enough to do it myself. That's for dang sure. But it did stick with me. And here I am today, living that lifestyle, and it's no big deal to me. I like the food I eat. I'm very satisfied. I get splurges. I feel great. But it's taken me years to get here. All right, so let me explain this concept of transformational maturity so you can have more tools in your toolbox, know more so what to focus on for improvement, because that's what we're here for, right? Improvement, progress, keep growing, keep getting better, keep refining, putting in the reps, refining. So you can be better equipped to understand why you do so well in certain areas, but maybe not all areas of transformation. So here's my classic umbrella concept where transformational maturity is the overarching idea with nutrition, activity, and emotional fitness as the components making the whole. Now, there are 6 pillars, but when it comes to transformational maturity, and even reviewing this to see if it was up to date, I still feel strongly that I'm going to include these 3 for simplicity, but also because I think these 3 do encompass the majority of what makes up what I'm referring to as transformational maturity. So in my model, I see each component and the overarching concept of transformational maturity on a continuum from infant to toddler to teenager to young adult to wise adult. And I think it's this continuum that really makes it simple to classify where any of us are on the continuum for each of the 4 areas: the transformational maturity as a whole, the nutrition component, the activity component, and the emotional fitness component. So let's start with the infant. An infant is quite immature and 100% reliant upon a parent or guardian to take care of them. They are nearly or completely helpless and cannot fend for themselves. Without constant care, they will not survive. Next comes toddler. A toddler is on the move, less helpless than an infant, but still quite dependent on a parent or guardian, notoriously prone to acting as though the world revolves around them. They have little to no tolerance for not getting what they want, when they want it, and they're prone to throw temper tantrums when they don't get instant gratification, and they do so by lying on the floor, kicking and screaming. Next comes teenager. A teenager is becoming more independent from the parent or guardian in both their thinking and their self-care. They often think they know more than their parents or other adults, and they often act out in rebellion. Next comes young adult. As a young adult, you have agency, which has been defined as having the ability to act as an effective agent for yourself, reflecting, making creative choices, and constructing a meaningful life. As a young adult, you recognize that you may not be best served by going it alone, but you aren't, unless physically or mentally handicapped in some way, you aren't reliant upon others on a minute-to-minute basis just to survive. As a young adult, you have a greater sense of self, of responsibility, and more independent decision-making. Finally comes wise adult. Now I realize I've got a picture of the Dalai Lama here, but I absolutely mean nothing religious by that picture. I just couldn't find a better picture to portray what I was looking for as this wise adult. The distinctions between young adult and wise adult can be somewhat subtle. Compared to the young adult, the wise adult is more sage. That is, they are wise through reflection and experience. The wise adult responds more to life than they react. Wise adults often have a greater sense of priorities, what matters most in life. Compared to young adults, the wise adult is more open-minded and less prone to allowing difficult times to derail them. While the young adult may often see life events as bigger, more intense, and scary, The wise adult is less likely to go catastrophic in hard times. They are more likely to remain more calm and in the present. Instead of intense anger or over-the-top exuberance over life situations, the wise adult is more likely to stay centered with more moderate feelings, regardless of the life situation before them. The wise adult has confidence matched with humility and a sensible, grounded belief that whatever life throws at them, they will manage it and they will be okay. Compared to the young adult, the wise adult is more emotionally intelligent. That is, they are more self-aware, better at self-regulation and delaying gratification. And they seek to understand with greater self-compassion and empathy for others. All right, so I've defined transformational maturity, and I've provided the construct of the maturity continuum, and I've said the continuum from infant to wise adult can be applied to not only the overarching transformational maturity idea, but the three components that make it up, which I'm saying are the nutrition, the activity, and emotional fitness. Now let's evaluate the student who private messaged me and honestly told me how she doesn't do well with really good hotel breakfast. She doesn't do well by eating healthy before going to an event where frankenfood is going to be served. She said she just eats again anyway, remember that? She still caves if she's around chips, bread, or corn muffins. She can't go to a wedding and not have cake, and if she's near plain snacks too long, she eats them. Well, as far as her nutritional maturity, she's very much still an infant or perhaps a toddler. She absolutely still has a 2-year-old in her that lies on the floor, belly down, kicking, screaming, and throwing a real hissy fit. And this is okay as long as she recognizes it for what it is and remains very open to the fact that she has a long way to go to get to the maturity level where her ultimate goal is likely to be reached and maintained. Newer students commonly arrive at LLU with their nutritional maturity at a level of infant or toddler. Even for those who are ultimately successful, it's quite common for it to take months or years to progress into the latter stages of maturity. The infant-toddler maturity level in and of itself doesn't bother me. What will keep me awake at night is if the student doesn't seem to get, and I mean really get, that they are an infant-toddler in that area. And because of this, because of their lack of self-awareness, it's a no deal for them achieving their lifetime goal or maintaining it until the nutritional maturity improves. What about activity maturity? Well, this same student said she used the hotel gym every day. Great! So maybe we've got a teenager or perhaps a young adult level here for activity maturity. It's far more common, by the way, to be a young adult with activity maturity than it is to be a young adult with nutritional maturity. But no matter what, good for her, and I mean that, at least she's not an infant or toddler for activity maturity. What about emotional maturity? This one's harder to evaluate, right? It's harder. It's always harder. It's always the harder one to evaluate. Emotional maturity is the harder one to master. It's the harder one to judge. I'd say we're at the teenage or young adult level of emotional maturity. And keep in mind, I'm referring only to the transformation, not any other part of her life. She may be the most accomplished woman in every other aspect of her life. My maturity evaluation here only relates to her transformational maturity and the three components that I say it encompasses. For emotional maturity, why would I say she's a teenager to young adult level here? Well, she's beyond infant or toddler because she's not completely helpless, and she recognizes many of her weak areas. Self-awareness is a component of emotional fitness. She realizes she's not strong in certain areas of her transformation. This self-awareness is good, but she's not a full-fledged wise adult in emotional maturity because, although she had not been successful at achieving and living at her lifetime goal ever in her life, she was resistant to coaching. She more so just wanted support of her predetermined views. Essentially, she let me know that what I said to her about all of this made sense, but what? Well, the bottom line is anything preceding the but is tossed out the window by her, and what followed her but was her version of her knowing best what would work. Although I'll say again, she had never been successful long-term at maintaining a healthy weight in her adult life. So overall, I'd place her transformational maturity at teenager or young adult. Her nutritional maturity was infant or toddler. Her activity maturity was teenager or young adult, and her emotional maturity was teenager or young adult. So hopefully this makes it easier to see why she was struggling, what areas she needs to devote more focus and energy to. And it gives a perspective we wouldn't otherwise have without this overall construct in our toolbox. So how about you? Where would you classify yourself for nutritional maturity? Infant, toddler, teenager, young adult, or wise adult? And the same for activity maturity, and the same for emotional maturity. And then finally, how would you classify yourself for the overall transformational maturity? You know, in closing, it's not easy squaring up with the mirror of self-awareness and doing self-evaluations like this when there's plenty of room for improvement. So why do I want you to do this? Because we can't improve and overcome what we don't acknowledge. Some cower when the mirror of self-awareness is held up, and others dig deep and fight to get better. Believe it or not, people really do that. My hope for you is you'll face it, square up with the evaluation, and use it to help you focus your attention and mindset for attitude and behavior shifts that support you achieving and living your lifetime goal forever. Dennis Deaton has said, behavior is mind driving body and fulfillment of dominant thought. I love that. There's a lot of truth in that. However, actions are critical to rewiring the brain, for enhancing neuroplasticity changes, for developing new habits. And ultimately, actions are so loud, your subconscious can't hear what you're saying. By that I mean, if all you do is think and talk about what you ought to do or gonna do or mean to do or intend to do, but you don't do it, you're just providing lip service to it, as we might say, your subconscious is listening. It's listening and it's watching. And ultimately, the way I see its role, the subconscious role that is the subconscious role is such a friend to us. It's such a carry out what it believes we most authentically want. That's how I see the subconscious. It's like, it's just tell me what to do, but tell me what you really want to do. I hear your thoughts. I see your words spoken on paper or elsewhere, self-talk, but I also see what you're doing. And I'm going to help you do what I believe is the most authentic you. And so if, as an example, Sunday through Thursday, rock solid, fun deceptional, 6-pillar fun deceptional. But then every Friday and Saturday, you know, it's a 4,000 calorie day. Your subconscious hears what you're saying. It's listening. Hears your self-talk, sees the words written, spoken, but also sees what you do. And it goes, okay, okay, you say you want the better, but every weekend you don't act on that. And so what you want is you want the weekends to be as they are. So I'm going to help you do that. And I'm going to help facilitate that and continue that behavior, because that seems to be what you most want, because that's what you do. Meanwhile, the other part of you say, no, but I'm thinking and saying this. And it says, I hear you, and I know you do, but you also want this. And so you've got, conflicting goals here. And I'm just going to do my best to help you carry out what I see as the most authentic to you. So behavior is mind driving body and fulfillment of dominant thought. Yeah, that's part of it. It's really good. Dennis Deaton, he did a great job with that. Behavior is mind driving body and fulfillment of dominant thought. But let's remember that actions drive mind. Actions drive mind to believe what you say is really what you want. So this lesson is very much an emotional fitness lesson to help you improve your mind, your focus, and your thinking to create behaviors, new habits that serve your highest potential. Okay? So what happens when you move from infant or toddler to wise adult? What happens when you do that? When you do that, what happens is you can be in the same room as bread, and it's no big emotional deal. You can go to the wedding and skip the cake. You aren't lying in your bed in tears because the sugar cravings are so bad, you don't know what to do with yourself. The wise adult level of maturity, the highest level, will allow you to be in any situation with nothing more than a shoulder shrug of indifference. You will choose what you do. You will see the space between stimulus and response. You will pause in that space easier, and you will make the better choice in that space for the response that's going to best serve you. You will choose whether to have cake or not. Choose based on more rational choices, and you won't be controlled by the situation. You'll decide with full consciousness, overcoming any beast influence. You'll overcome that, and you'll decide with full consciousness whether you have the food or drink item and how much. And I know this with every fiber of my being. If you will keep striving to progress on the transformational maturity continuum, keep striving to progress on that continuum. Nothing about your genetics, your past, and hundreds of false starts, nothing about that scares me. If you'll keep an open mind and realize this one area of your life, at least this one area, right, still needs maturity improvement, no matter how successful you are in other parts of your life. And I know a lot of you listening can point to these other areas of success in your life, and no one could argue with you on that. Extremely successful. You got it. But in this area, maybe there's room for improvement. Maybe there's room for improvement to move along the continuum, keep growing, keep striving to get better, get to the point where you move from, I'm a responsible adult, sure, but are we at wise adult level? When we get there, it gets easier, okay? Keep striving for personal growth while being coachable. That's my guidance there. No matter how successful you are in other parts of your life, keep striving for personal growth. Remain coachable. If you do, you'll make it. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next month, but you'll make it. So in essence, if you'll strive to progress toward wise adult, you can lose the weight one more time for the last time, and you can win this battle once and for all. Absolutely can. So, till next time, let's focus on what we want. Let's be grateful for what we already have. And remember, it's all happening perfectly. See you guys on campus. Bye-bye. Have a great week.